It's been a while, but I finally have a Shudder screening for a film called Attachment coming to the Shudder streaming service on February 9th. I got an early screener to check out this film and let you guys know if it is worth a watch, so stick around and let's talk about it. Maja, a Danish has-been actress, falls in love with Leah, a Jewish academic from London. Leah suffers a mysterious seizure and Maja returns with her to London. There she meets Leah's mother, a woman who could hold dark secrets. The film stars Ellie Kendrick, Sofie Grobel, Josephine Park, and many others, and was directed by Gabriel, Bier, Gislason. Going into Attachment, as I go into with any Shudder screening, I usually know nothing about the film, and this film takes no exception. I did see that this film premiered on the Tribeca Festival, so it must have had some pretty good praise on that festival, and to obviously get on Shudder. I really did enjoy the romance between Maja and Leah. I found that the film, when it started off, it was very strong. We got a good glimpse of both of these girls' romance, and it's a cutesy little romance, and we get to see them develop feelings for each other, and then eventually end up going to Leah's house where she meets her mother. And when she gets to this house with this mother, she's really overbearing, very religious, something that I definitely would not want to be a part of. If I was dating someone, I would not want to deal with that. And this is what this woman has to deal with. Majority of this movie, it's part romance. It says it's a comedy, which there's no comedy. It says that on the IMDb. There's no comedy in this film whatsoever. And it's also part horror. And something that I'm really noticing in the horror genre, and especially movies and indie films that are going on to Shudder, is they're starting to do a lot of mix of different genres. And I'm finding that a lot of these films that try to mix in the horror with other genres, they usually fall flat. And I think this film definitely falls flat. I definitely had no attachment to this film at all. The film covers a variety of different topics such as religion, motherhood, mental illness, and relationships. And what it does is it sprinkles all these different aspects into the horror story, and it tries to create this horror tale. For instance, the religion portion. Obviously, the mother is very religious. It also ties into Jewish folklore and demons and possession. And it also mentions mental illness with the daughter having seizures and doing a lot of odd things when it's nightfall. I just think that these kinds of topics, even though they're brought up, it doesn't feel like it has a lot to say about it. It's a very slow burn film, much slower than I think that it should be, and it has a very long runtime at 1 hour and 45 minutes. And it gets very long, it gets very drawn out, and it feels like it is leading to nowhere. I felt by the time that this film was actually wrapping up, it just felt too easy. They wanted to throw these supernatural elements, and they just don't go full throttle with those supernatural elements. It just wasn't that appealing to me. It wasn't scary at any point. And I just felt like it just seems like a film that was thrown onto Shudder to just say the fact that it's a horror movie. And I just don't feel like people that are really loving horror can really grasp onto this film, because I think in one portion it's great that there is some representation here for the gay community. That's great that you have that in horror, but even though it has that romance portion, I just don't feel like this film has a lot to say in the horror elements. I feel like it has a lot of different horror elements that you would see in other films that is just masked by the fact that it is Jewish folklore. And of course, majority of us don't know a lot about Jewish folklore, so we're trying to learn in the process of what this possible demon that is introduced in this book that I just don't feel is very much executed to the fullest. And I think that this film, it really gets lost in what the message is trying to be and what it is trying to do as a film. And I think the worst part too is when you're watching this film and there are certain parts where you're like, all right, it's amping up, it's going to get good, it's going to get into full motion. It fails. It just doesn't go into that direction. There are a lot of different scenes in here where there are nighttime scenes, and something that could be more tense and could be something that you could really get scared and something really drastic could really happen at that point in time. It just doesn't. And that's where the film just really fails. And it was just kind of a really boring film. I really had trouble really staying really engaged with this film, and I just wasn't very intrigued by the story. Most engaging thing was just learning about these two women and their romance and their love for each other. And I thought that when the mom was actually introduced into the plot, it would get a little bit more interesting because you can really tell that she's really not really accepting of the fact that her daughter is with another woman. And I thought, as I'm watching this film unravel, I thought, we're going to get a little bit more clarity about certain weird things that are happening, and it just doesn't happen. I would give a score of this film a 1 out of 5. It was a boring ride. I think that there are things here that could have been on the right track, and I think that if they did a little bit more editing and kind of rethought the horror portion of the story, I can see where this film would have been a little bit more captivating. But for me, it's a one-time watch and a film that I have no desire to ever revisit again. But let me know in the comments, did you check this film out? Are you going to check it out on Shudder when it drops on February 9th? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you guys for watching this review, and I will see you guys on my next review.